Story, interesting story. Once Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Hecht, that he was the previous rabbis also, emissary to Chicago. He was a very good speaker, public speaker. He was very, how do you say, dramatic and genuine speaker. And he spoke about very, very meaningful, simple things, not things that are up in the air. And he had a radio program for a long time. It could be he was among the first, if not the first, from Chabad, maybe of the religious people. I mean, probably somebody's going to come and tell me this is not so, but of the religious people, we're talking about in the early 40s to have a radio program on, real Judaism. And I had tapes of some of his things that were very interesting, and he told different stories and things like that. Yeah, so here's a story about him. About him. He was once invited to a Chabad house to speak, to be there for a Shabbat, or maybe it was Motzi Shabbat, to come and give a speech. Okay, no, but there's a little bit of a forward to the story. There was a young man, a young boy, and he became a Baal Tshuva. He became a religious Jew. Through Chabad. A young fellow, his teens, his early 20s. And I'm just telling the story how I told the story. I'm certain that there's certain details which are more accurate than what I'm saying, but this is the whole gist of the story. So he came from a not-religious family. He became religious. His sister had nothing to do with it. She didn't want anything. She liked her brother. She was very friendly to him. She was a very open person, very intelligent. But she wanted nothing to do with all this Judaism business, with all the rituals, with all of this. So he tried a few times to get her interested. She didn't want nothing to do with it. And so one time, it could have been that even a few times she did come to the Chabad house with him. Chabad house. I think there was the Chabad house in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, because he was in Chicago. Whatever it was, he became religious, and he invited his sister, and his sister came to the Chabad house several times, and it did not in any way impress her. She was nice, a nice thing. But all these rituals, you got to wash your hands, you have to do this, you can't do this, you can't turn on the lights. She doesn't need it. Okay. Anyway, so her brother invites her to come to the one time, and she says, okay, because she's going to go, she signed up for some sort of a seminar in Scientology or some other sort of, idolatrous or semi-idolatrous or whatever it is, or, cult-like thing for, self-improvement and self, realization and conquering the world and anyway, whatever these things promise. So she signed up for it. One thing for sure, it's not positive, and it's the opposite of Judaism. So she signed up for, she was going to go. So she comes to the Chabad house, and she's there with her brother. She figures she'll be with her brother. This could be the last time she'll be with her, because, you sign yourself over to these cults, and that's it. You leave you have no mother, no father, no past, no anything. So she stays with him. So the Shabbat goes, very nice, and she's supposed to leave for this place like the next morning to go to her, the big seminar. And she's already taken classes in this Scientology or whatever this cult is, and she decides she's gonna, that's it. She's going for it. She paid her money. She's gonna go. And so the Shabbat was very nice, very pleasant, like all the other Shabbats, not particularly, arousing And after Shabbat, so the Chabad house manager said, we're having this special speaker come tonight, Rabbi Hechter. Only it was going to come after Shabbat. He's going to come tonight, and can you help me, arrange the room? So Jews like to help. So she said, okay. So she helped. She helped to arrange the thing, and she said, well, listen, the rabbi's going to only speak for 1 hour. What are you going to miss? Why don't you stay? So she said, no, she doesn't want to. Anyway, however it is, they convinced her. And she stayed. So the rabbi came and he spoke. It was very, very nice. About 10 minutes into his speech, all of a sudden he said, listen, I want to tell you a story. So this story is not really relevant to what I wanted to say. I wanted to say something on the Parsha of the week and tell a couple of, Hasidic stories about Baal Shem Tov and other things. But all of a sudden, this thing popped in my mind, and it's very interesting. I want to tell the story. So he said, one time I went into Yechidus to the Rebbe. Went to the Yechidus, and the Rebbe said to me, here's I don't remember if the Rebbe said to him that he should stay there and listen to the next person that was coming in, or I don't think so. I think the Rebbe said, you know what, who just came in to see me? This is what happened. You know who just came in to see me? The most amazing thing. So he said, I don't know. He said, well, it came in Rabbi Boyer. Rabbi Boyer. Rabbi Boyer was not a Hasidic rabbi, but he was a very wonderful person, a very self-sacrificing person. And after this is the Rebbe became Rebbe in 1950, right after the Rebbe. So there was still these, fresh after World War II. So this Rabbi Boyer came in, and he wasn't a Chabad Hasid, but he heard good things about the Rebbe. And he was a very good man, a very positive person. So he went to see the Rebbe, to talk to him about things, whatever it was. And he said, Rabbi Boyer was just in to see me. And he told me a story. He said, you want to hear the story that he told me? He said, he told me the story like this. Listen, maybe I'll make a small correction. It could be that he went into the previous Rebbe to see the previous Rebbe, and the previous Rebbe told him the story. It could be, which that's a little more logical. Anyway, this Rabbi Boyer, he told the previous Rebbe like this. He said, I want you to know, I want to tell you a story. He said, I want to tell you a story. Rabbi Boyer said, I went as one of the members of the joint or whatever. I went around to the different recuperation camps after the Holocaust. And I went to these different camps and I gave out, I wrote down what people needed. If they needed clothes, I gave out chocolates. We gave out some simple clothes, whatever we could to help the Jews that were there, and got their names. Maybe with the one person was looking for his mother, we could link between. It says there was one boy there that he was a refugee, and he was from Russia. And he was thrown around. He went to the camps, and his parents were all killed. They were all killed. And he was, a boy, 10 years old, 12 years old. And he, I asked him if he needed anything. So I said, maybe you need some clothes, maybe you need food, maybe you need, something. I brought some things with me. And he said, I want to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I thought to myself, that's all a young boy. The boy is starving. He's cold. He lost his family. Usually he wants, a boy even that age, he wants a toy. He wants what can I bring him? Clothes, something warm. All he's thinking about is that he wants to see. That he wants to see the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. So I said to him, I can't promise you that. I don't have funds to buy you a ticket to go to see the Rebbe. But what I can promise is that when I'm in America, I'll go into the Lubavitcher Rebbe and I'll mention your name and ask for a blessing. And that satisfied him. He said, and that's one of the reasons why I came in to talk with you, is to give you the name of this boy. He said, look at that. A boy that's missing everything in the world, and all he can think about is that he wants to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's what's really missing in his life. He said, I have never seen anything like that in my life, and I can't explain it. And that's the end of the story. That's the story that Rabbi Hecht told. And then he continued his lecture, and the end of the lecture, could be he said the story near the end of his lecture, and everybody clapped and they left. And this girl she was sitting in her chair and she didn't move. She had her head. So her brothers thought maybe she was asleep or something. She was crying. So the rabbi went over to her, Rabbi Hecht, and said, I'm sorry, did I say something wrong? I didn't. She said, that Rabbi Boyer, he was my grandfather. And I heard that I'm sorry, I left out part of the story. It's the previous Rebbe, there was the previous Rebbe that Rabbi Boyer went into. He said, do you want something? And he said, I want a blessing that my children, or the Rebbe gave him a blessing that my children and my children's children should remain religious. Because America was a terrible melting pot. And the Rebbe blessed him. Your children and your children's children. That I left that very important part out. And that's what the Rebbe gave that blessing to Rabbi Boyer. And that was the end of the story. Then Rabbi Hecht finished the thing, and everybody left, and this girl was crying. So he went over, he said, why are you crying? Did I say something? I'm sorry, I didn't. She said, Rabbi Boyer, he was my grandfather. And that he asked for a blessing, he was asking a blessing for me. And so the girl remained, she stayed in the Chabad house. Canceled her her trip to idolatry. So it comes to show us that the Rebbe cares about us, and that we care about the Rebbe, and that the blessings of the Rebbe that Mashiach is going to come for sure will be revealed to each and every one of us. Will all be pulled out of our mistaken paths that we're on and come close to the truth with Mashiach now. Have a good day. See you all, God willing, tomorrow, 8:15 in the morning.